We've begun on another sequence of questions asked by Mahamati of the Buddha. And this sequence of questions was begun in the previous video. And I'm suggesting that this sequence of questions actually mirrors the dynamic of enlightenment practice. And what I mean by this is the dynamic of consciousness, the dynamic of enlightenment even. Consciousness comes and goes. Enlightenment comes and goes. Enlightenment is always there for us to return to, but it's like a house. There are times we have to leave it, whether consciously or unconsciously. And enlightenment practice is about making the conscious effort to return to it once again. The house of enlightenment. So let's have a look at verse 475. Whence are families and no families? What is meant by mind only? The setting up of marks, and whence the doctrine of egolessness? Families and no families. Well, families in Buddhism, if you look it up, it normally refers to what are called the Jina Buddhas. These are a mandala of 5 cosmic Buddhas, and that's all wonderful. But I don't think that's what's referred to here. I suspect this text, I don't know for sure, maybe somebody can clarify this, but I doubt whether the doctrine of the Jina Buddhas, these are the conquering Buddhas, I doubt whether this doctrine was formulated at the time of writing of the Lankavatara Sutra, which was written down about the 4th century of the Common Era. And we don't need to resort to the Jina Buddhas anyway, because back in verse 327 we had a description of some families. Families of the moon and stars, families of kings, abodes of the gods, families of the yakshas, of the Gandharvas. So they're families of beings, perhaps supernatural beings. But also back in video 210, we had families of Buddhists, and these were Buddhists who are following a particular way, like the Shravakas and the Pratchika Buddhas, and also those that were following no way, those that couldn't really be classified. These are the families and no families. It's a way of trying to make sense of all the different kinds of teachings within Buddhism. Some of these teachings can be identified as Buddhist, some not Buddhist, but the possibility of enlightenment is not one that's open to Buddhists only. So I think this is where the idea of no families comes in, or practitioners that are not easy to classify. So this idea of families and no families is all about spiritual practitioners, people that are trying to reach the house of enlightenment. I think I'll run with that phrase for a while. And this house of enlightenment is described in the next phrase. The next question, what is meant by mind only? This is the goal. This is the goal of the families. This is the goal of the spiritual aspirants, the spiritual practitioners. Mind only. This is awareness. Mind only is pure awareness. It's not a special kind of awareness. It's the awareness that's hearing this. The realization is the realization of the true nature of this awareness, the true nature of this everyday awareness. It's the awareness that encompasses everything. It's the awareness that can be aware of everything. It's like space, it contains everything. So does awareness. It's miraculous, it's vibrant, it's what it means to be alive. Truly alive. It's the miracle of our moment to moment being or existence. So this is mind only. This is realization. The next question, the setting up of marks. And this refers to that which attracts the attention. There's a lot of stuff going on. In mind only, we step back to that which is aware of all this stuff. But now and again, there's a little seed of something which prompts the attention to grab onto something or to attach to something. It might even just be a basic survival need. I'm hungry. And so the attention has to look outwards for something to compensate that feeling. In other words, food. And it might be a simple matter, or it might be a very complicated and difficult matter to find some food, depending on circumstances. So this is the setting up of marks. The setting up of a sequence of things in order to respond to a particular feeling. And in this way we enter into the world. It might not just be food, it might be sex, it might be love, it might be desire for comfort, for warmth, for heat, for some light, for understanding, or whatever. So this is the setting up of marks. And so we get caught up in conventional reality, conventional understanding. And we take this as reality, as life. But if we're a spiritual practitioner, we realize, hang on, I've forgotten something. And we come back to mind only. And this is where the doctrine of egolessness comes from. The last phrase says, and whence the doctrine of egolessness, sometimes referred to as a twofold egolessness. Egolessness of the individual, but also relating to the insubstantiality of the world, the lack of any intrinsic identity, just like a dream. So we come back to mind only. So again, it seems that this verse is describing the dynamic of enlightenment practice, the coming and going into and from the house of enlightenment.